Hi there, my name is Greg Olnick. This video will give you an overview of what is SAP. I like to say it's a super amazing program just to have a positive attitude for teaching, and also my students need to have a positive attitude to really effectively learn. Wikipedia says it is systems, applications, and products in data processing. It was founded in 1972 in Germany, but it was actually from a couple guys in IBM in California that bought the accounting package that was offered from IBM, and they got the source code. They moved to Germany, hired a bunch of programmers, and took it from there. Basically built from a core of the accounting module. Currently, probably about 85% of the world's large companies use SAP. There's a whole bunch of them, and there's like energy, mining, government. You call it an ERP systems, enterprise resource planning. So it basically covers the complete system of data management from the assets in the company to the maintenance to the warehousing, HR, and so on. It's an example of some of the companies that use SAP. All these logos, of course, are property of their respective owners, just to give you an idea. Here's another bunch of companies that use SAP, and some more. You can see quite a few companies. It's very modular based. It does inventory control, as I mentioned, and it's used by manufacturing, retail, customer service, and it also, of course, my focus is on the maintenance module of SAP. They call it PM, plant maintenance. So this diagram shows you the main modules of SAP. The FICO is the financial controlling modules, are very important, and they're all linked to like production planning and plant maintenance, project systems, and so on. So there's lots of integration. I know some companies, they went from some 87 software programs to run their business down to like 3 or 4 once they went into SAP. So as I mentioned, I focus on maintenance. I use the example of maintaining a car for people who are new to maintenance, and I do have a full course on just around what is maintenance for the people who are just getting into maintenance, being a maintenance planner, or for even like accounting department or warehouse inventory control. They have to all understand what it is maintenance. So I'll just give you a brief summary of it. So when you think of your car, you have to do like regular inspections to keep your costs down. Like it's better to fix things before they break, and also for safety. Like you gotta check your oil and your tire pressure before you go on a big trip. By the way, the red light on indicator for oil, they call it the idiot light, because by the time that shows red, it's probably too late. You've already started to cause damage to your engine. So regular maintenance, you do their oil changes based on mileage and or time, like every 4,000 miles or 2 months, whichever comes first. Now, if you only check your oil, you only have the oil change folks checking your oil and replacing it, that's not adequate. You need to do it. Some people do it every fill. Some people do it every third fill. So for gas, you have to check your oil. So definitely before a long trip. Break-in work, like there are predictive sensors on a car, especially nowadays in modern ones, but the old-fashioned squealers on the brakes, once the metal squealer touches goes low enough to scrape on the brake, then on the metal plate, then it starts making the squeal, or telling you basically that your brake shoes are running out. So also if your wipers don't wipe the windows properly, it's telling you that they're wearing out, time to replace them, and of course flat tires. Reliability basically is reliability-centered maintenance. Is you do your maintenance, but also you got to keep track of your costs, because at one point it's maybe more cost-effective to buy a new car than keep fixing a clunker. So maintenance basically is to keep things running. In whether you run a production business, like having a product, or retail business. If you're running maintenance module of SAP, it's to keep the business running, all the equipment running, and make sure your parts are available just enough, just in time. So any activity involved in maintaining something in good working order is considered part of the maintenance. There's inspections, like I mentioned, to check your tire pressure, tire tread. That's the automatic inspection, the squealers. Bearing temperatures. A lot of the new equipment nowadays come with built-in sensors, and they'll tell you like temperature, vibration, and so on. And inspections can be manual inspections where people walk around and checking temperature with a heat gun or checking the vibration. Predictive, you want to basically predict failure so you can avoid them. And as you fill in the reports from your inspections, then that is considered condition-based maintenance, where it will trigger notifications or work orders based on those recordings. And that can also be automated. Now, when you do regular, like preventative maintenance, maintaining oil levels on things and doing regular tune-ups and so on, you're preventing breakdowns, you're preventing problems, and that's way more cost-effective. And that way you can plan and schedule those kind of maintenance procedures. Repair, when something actually breaks down, that's called corrective maintenance, and some of that can also be automated. You can have like template orders, so that when something breaks down, it's a predictable thing that happens. Then you'd have a work order template. In SAP, they call it a task list that would create that work order already, all the materials and all the labor already pre-planned. Being proactive is very important also. So doing your regular services, pre-planned corrective work. Reliability-centered maintenance, RCM, important also to analyze, what is the proper procedures, and that may change depending on where you're located, your weather patterns, and so on, and also your cost analysis is all involved in that, so you know when is it time to replace that equipment rather than keep on repairing it. Now, maintenance also involves all the planning, scheduling, execution of the work. That's involved with printing out the work orders, assigning it to the teams, and making sure all the equipment's available for them with any scaffolding and cranes and so on. And then the completion, doing the proper closeout, and who does that, and what the recording of what was found and where there was deficits in the plans or whatever, and to make constant improvements. And that's all part of the follow-up. This slide shows the simplified sustained maintenance loop, like I mentioned earlier, where you do the work planning, work scheduling, work execution, and follow-up. The next slide is a little bit more detailed. And here's a more comprehensive work management flow chart. So from the notification getting created, people can have a meeting to discuss what they're going to do, they cancel it, postpone it, or approve it. And within a notification in itself, they can manage tasks and workflow, but most often in maintenance, they turn a notification that's approved into a work order that copies everything from the notification. Now, when that order is created, it usually has to get planned, and to plan it, you can also automate that by pulling in pre-planned task list information, like the parts required for that, the tasks, and so on. The work order might have to go through financial approval, or the requisitions have to go through approval before they can be purchase orders. And there's also workflow that can be associated with that. And then a work order is approved. Now, the approved work order can also spit out of preventative maintenance on from a task list template based on counters, based on time, and all those other strategies to actually automate the creation of the orders. And once you have all those orders, then you can do scheduling. And then once you have your schedule for like next week's work or the shutdown coming up, then they're scheduled. They can release those orders to actually order the parts to make sure you get them in time. Some companies only will plan or schedule work orders after they're actually all the parts have arrived. So once they're all the parts arrive, the work orders are good to go. They're printed and assigned to people. And then once the jobs are done, executed, then the order is marked completed. With also the time confirmations go in and so on. So let's go into SAP and I'll take you on a quick tour.